Okay. So this is what you do if you have a PC. This is an easy way to take a screenshot. So you can't see this part, I don't think, on my computer, or maybe you can, but if you have a PC, at the bottom bar, if you hover all the way to the bottom, so pull your cursor all the way to the bottom, and you may have the option to type to search, but if you don't, you click the little start menu like that, and you'll find your snipping tool. So to do that, you just start typing SNIPPING, and it comes up like this. And you left click it to open it. And so if you've been here the whole time, you will have heard Mr. Carroll say that the dialog box shows snipping tool, and this also try snip and sketch. So you can use either one. The snipping tool is a little bit more simple to use. It has less functionality. I'm going to show you that one, and then maybe if we have time, we can do the snip and sketch one. But you can also still use this more plain version of it. So if you click new right here, you'll see that the screen kind of now has like a glaze, like a gray white overlay over it. And when you hover away from this dialog box, the cursor turns into this cross. So when the cross is there is when you have the snipping tool activated. So if you wanted to take a snip of the file menu or whatever topic you've chosen to write about for the Unit 5 assignment, you would just hover near wherever you want to take the snip, and you have to hold down the left click and drag. So I'm holding down the left click and then I'm dragging. So I'm going to take a picture of my face. And when you're ready, you let both go. You let both fingers go. I'm working on a laptop, so it's fingers. But if you're doing it with a mouse, then you just let the left side of the mouse go. And then you have a close up, so you can take an exact picture of wherever on the screen you want to show. So let me show you that again. I'll open like an Excel. I'll open Excel just to kind of, if I can. I don't know if I have Excel on this computer. I might not. We'll see what it does. This is a kind of old computer I'm showing you on, so I'm not sure. Maybe, come on. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's see if it lets us open. Okay, so for example, again, to do this, if you wanted to, for example, tell the reader or the user to click File and then, let's say we want to, I didn't memorize the options for the assignment, but let's say if you wanted them to click Insert and then a pivot chart. It doesn't matter. And you want to show the user that you're in this menu and then to click pivot chart. So what you would do is get your cursor to exactly where you want it to show on the screen, like I have. And then actually, you need to open your snipping tool kind of like on top of the document. So, okay, so we're gonna have it kind of at the ready. And then it doesn't matter, like insert. Come on.
That's one of the problems that I also had too. Whenever I was like pressing stuff, like if I did insert this, like, and I did snipping tool at the same time, it would go away. That was one of my problems.
Oh, does it go away?
Yeah.
Let's see.
When I was able to do this, What I was able to do is I pressed on the right side of the screen at the top, I will press the minus to lower the screen and then work back and forth. But I had no problems.
So, okay, that's a very good suggestion. So do you mean like this?
All the way to the top and the right, where you minimize the screen.
Uh-huh.
The left, not the X, but the minus sign on the right.
Right.
To bring the screen all the way to make the screen go away.
Okay. And then what did you do? How did you get it to work?
I would do my snip and then pull my screen back up. And then snip it.
Do you mind showing a demonstration?
Yeah, maybe I'm
Because
sorry. I don't think maybe mine isn't doing it correctly. Ms. Thomas, would you mind showing us how you did it? Or
Well, I don't know if I can exactly show you, but there's somebody else that's offering to show. I don't know who that is. Somebody just offered to show.
oh, I think she was Sadaf. You were asking Ms. Thomas to show us, right?
Yes, I was asking if you could, if it's possible, if you can show us, like demonstrate it. If not possible, it's okay.
I probably could get away with trying to explain it better than just showing it. I could try to pull it up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went to my see, I've been missing the words to different things. Let's see. Because I had no problems. When I pulled up my Windows on my computer, and I went to the snip and sketch. And then once I completed that transaction, when I went back to the website what I wanted to get the picture of, and I snipped it, and I went back and pulled up where I wanted it to go. And I was able to place it where I wanted it to go, and it worked fine.
Okay, so did you use snip and sketch instead of the regular
sketch?
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe let's try that. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, all right. Okay. So then to press Windows logo key, Shift and S. Okay, so let's try that. Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. That's awesome. I think this is gonna work. Windows, Shift and S. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's see. Do insert, pivot chart. Nope. I'm just trying to show you how to take a picture of the menu. So Windows Shift S. Oh, I see. Okay, this is working. And then you can
just highlight that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and so it saves it to your clipboard. So as you can see down here at the bottom, thank you so much, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. That was very helpful.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. I'm sorry I couldn't explain it better.
It's okay.
No, that was super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you. You're welcome. You are welcome.
Okay, so we know how to I learned something new. I have not used my PC in this way in a long time. On the Mac, there's, you just do the keyboard shortcuts and the Mac does it for you like magic. So this is good to know for PC users, which is more people, I think, than Mac users. Awesome. Okay, so Mr. Carroll, does that help answer your question?
That does it. That does it. The fact that I can have both of those open on the screen, I can highlight what I want.
Awesome. Okay. Does anyone else have questions about how to take a screenshot before I stop being on two computers?
No, ma'am.
Good to go. Okay. So I will become one person again. All right. Okay, so let's see. Ms. Thomas, what do you have a question?
No, ma'am, I don't really have a question. I just came to take notes and to fill in any empty spaces that I might have had.
Okay. Like I offered to Mr. Carroll, whenever you are ready, or if you want to, it's not required, but if you want to, when you have your draft ready, you can email it to me. If you want, some direct feedback, I'm
Okay.
happy to do that whenever you're ready.
Okay, okay.
Sadaf or Shasta, can I answer any questions for either of you guys?
I had one question.
Okay.
As I asked in last class, in my background, you told me to write an example. Is it okay if I wrote that artists and lawyers are some of the people who would use watermarks to protect their work, or would that not count as a watermark that's applied to a Word document?
That's fine. I would say if you wanted to, you could be a bit like I think we talked about this last time, but forgive me if I'm forgetting. Since the business that you used or that you talked about for units 2, 3, and 4, if you want to, you can kind of use that same theme and say like you're still writing to people who work at HP, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever the business was. If you want to make it more general, you can definitely say artists or lawyers or engineers or whatever examples you want to use. That's awesome. That's either way is perfectly fine.
But if I go through the HP route, how would I do? How should I say it that way? Should I say like, I sent out a proposal that as a software engineer, I sent out a proposal with that I applied a watermark to using the Word doc or like Microsoft Word, like that?
Sure, you could definitely write that. Yes.
Okay.
That's a good example. The purpose of the background and providing an example is kind of like, it's kind of a nod to who we know our audience is. So we know that based on the assignment description, the audience has, the people who will use the directions they have some basic level computer skills, but they will need to know how to do this in order to do whatever their job is. And we just want to kind of give like a little bit of an introduction, like, hey, this is an example of when a watermark might be used, just to make the instructions a little bit more like tell a story.
Would that be part of the introduction?
Yes. That's
Okay.
a good question.
I just thought of a question. Go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Ms.
I'm
Thomas.
sorry. There's not that many steps to inserting a watermark in Word. So is there a certain amount of steps that you must have?
No, ma'am.
Because if there's only 2 or 3 steps, what about if it goes on to show you, for instance, how to remove a watermark? Could you include that?
Yes, ma'am, you definitely could. So for example, I'll pull up a Word document. I think I have Word on my Mac. So let me do that. And this is a good question that I think 1 or 2 other people have emailed me about. I know that it may kind of seem like a trick, like, oh, is she sure that she only wants, like a couple of steps? It's not, it's not a trick. The purpose of the assignment is just to get, offer you a time to practice writing the instructions and kind of building a very short tutorial.
Okay.
In the past, the students would like pick whatever they wanted, and sometimes the suggestions for their topics were kind of weird. For like, as an example, the one time like a student asked me like, hey, can I write directions on how to do some stuff with some plants that are illegal in the state of Texas? And I was like, no, sir, of course not. I hope you guys are reading between the lines. So after that, I was like, well, maybe let me give some suggestions on things to do. So it's not a trick to try to like say, oh, you got an F because you didn't have 45 steps. No, you just need to practice writing the instructions and taking the screenshots and understanding how to write instructions that are clear and helpful to the person that's going to read the instructions. So yes, sir, go ahead.
I have a question. Let's talk about the watermark, because the instructions on a Mac are different than those on the PC. Should we include both, or should we just talk about what we use and make a point that this is only for PC?
So that's an excellent question. So the part of making instructions usable is pointing out the system that the user is expected to use. And that's kind of part of also what goes in the introduction. So that's kind of why you tell the user like, these instructions are written for a PC or a Mac, whichever one is correct. And you can add this if you want, but you can also add what operating system. So if you look at, for example, if we go to, I was just going to pull up an example from, I had a lot of stuff going on and my internet is not the best. Here we go. Okay, so if you just Google how to insert a watermark in Word, and you look at some of the directions. So for example, if we scroll, I think I've looked at this one actually before. Let's see. So this is a good example. Here, you don't have to write this much, but there's just like kind of a background of when you would use it. Usually use them to highlight something important, blah, blah, blah. So it's very similar to what you see here. Obviously don't copy and paste this because I've read this a bunch of times and I'll know immediately if you do, but it also tells you like, okay, we're talking about Windows 10, and it tells you what exactly these instructions are for, what situation these instructions are for. I'm trying not to over-explain it, but to answer your question, it is very helpful to tell the user, especially if you were going to give the document to a real life person who may work in a big department that has both PCs and Macs, which I've worked in. I would need a separate set of instructions to do a task if I was on a PC versus a Mac. So excellent question. And as you can see here also, Ms. Thomas, so for example, these instructions there's only 8. So, and they break it up into how to add a simple watermark to a Word document. There's only 8. If you want to be a little bit more advanced, like you were just saying, how to add a custom watermark. I think Sadaf is adding something similar to this in her document and it looks great. But again, there's only, let's see, in this one, there's a few more. But you can also see too that this is literally step by step by step, like every button click has a directive. For the purposes of this assignment, and Sadaf and I talked about this the other day, if you have an image like this, I hope this is big enough. Let me try to make this a bit bigger. If you have an image like this that has the labels where it's like click on design, click watermark, click custom watermark, you can make the directions into like one direction. So you may write, click the design tab, let's see, semicolon, navigate to watermark, semicolon, and choose custom watermark, period. And that could be one directive with this one picture.
Okay.
And that I don't have a preference. I'm not trying to control your creativity or however you want to do it in that way. But the main thing to remember is each directive needs an image. So don't do it like this, like they have some with pictures and some with not, some not. For the purposes of this assignment, please make sure that each directive has an image,
Okay.
however many that ends up being for you.
Okay. At first I guess I was confusing myself because when I was searching for images, I realized on Microsoft 2019, it has where you go to the home button and then to the design button. But on older Microsofts, it's set up a different way. Like it was more updated. So it was giving you different pictures, different directions.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. That's a really good thing to point out. And definitely whichever version you choose to use, just, stick with that version. So if you are working on the assignment, like on your home computer and at your work computer, you will want to make sure that they have the same version.
Yeah.
Do we need to be specific about what version it is?
It would be very helpful in real life and, for the assignment.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
So we probably need to include the version of iOS and the version of Office that we're using.
I think the more important detail is going to be the version of Office, because you could test your luck and run like the the newest version of Word on Windows 98 if you wanted to, if you had that kind of patience. I don't, but I think for the purposes of like, okay, we're teaching someone to do a task specifically within Word or Excel, let's just focus on telling the reader which version of Word or Excel. You don't have to tell them what operating system. For other programs, that would be very helpful, but for this assignment, I think it's more important just to tell them what version of the software. So what version of Word or which version of Excel or whatever topic you're doing.
And I stay with the 2019 version because when I looked at the version that UHD offers, it was giving you the same directions and the same pictures.
Okay, gotcha.
So that was my final decision. It made more sense to me to use that one.
Yes, and I agree with your decision for sure. That's a good choice.
Yeah. So yeah, that played a major factor in what pictures I was trying to snip off online. Because it wasn't matching my instructions.
Yeah, that's a big point. Like you don't want to get a document that's supposed to teach you something and it doesn't match what you see on the screen. I go through that all the time in my quote unquote day job, I guess, where I create training materials on how to do different things on different parts of our website or whatever. And this is a really good real life example. Right now, the company that I work for is rolling out a new e-commerce site that's kind of like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever. And they're wanting me to create training to teach people how to navigate the site, but the site isn't finished. And I've had meeting after meeting trying to explain over and over, like, you don't create documentation on a site or anything that someone has to look at it and try to match it up on their computer until the thing is done, because it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so it's very important that the written directions match up with ideally what the user is going to expect to see on the site. So that's a really good point.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a really quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you have a preference on how we highlight, like, let's say we're supposed to be clicking insert. Do you have a preference on if we're like drawing an arrow to go to click insert, or we're just putting a box around it, or we can do both? I'm asking for like the cohesiveness. I think you said that the layout and stuff had to be the same.
Yes. So I don't have a personal preference. The only thing I would say is exactly what you just said, is just make it consistent. So for example, can we make this go back to where we were? So for example, in this like online tutorial, well, wait, don't let me start using this as an example and I'm wrong. Okay, no, thankfully they are supporting what I'm telling you. So you see that all of these labels are red boxes, and they even all have the same weight of the line of the box. So as long as you do that, if you don't like the boxes, you can use arrows or ovals or whatever you like. But the only thing that I'm going to look at and like grade on is consistency. That's the only thing. It can be whatever color you want. Of course, I recommend either red or dark color. Like if it's beige or yellow, it's not super easy to see. But as long as they're all consistent in color and style, that is perfect. I don't have a preference.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor Dials, I have one last question.
Sure.
In the assignment description, you wrote that in the conclusion, we need to have a contact number in case something does not work.
Yes.
But since I'm doing more of like the internet and all that, so is it okay if I put more websites they can look at to help them? Is that okay,
Yes.
or do I need to put a contact in order to, or no?
Either is fine. And you can also, put a dummy email address. You can put other reference links to other places where they can get help. The purpose is just to let them know, hey, this is what you should do in case these instructions don't work.
Okay.
So whatever that looks like, it can be a phone number, and it can be 111-111-1111. It can be a dummy email address. It can be links to other tutorials. Any of those are fine options.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir, Mr. Carroll.
I'm looking at the copy of this particular document. And I'm sure you don't have a preference if we use the template that you put out there or something that's like this. I mean, we don't see the instructions here, but there's the template format that was kind of, here's the instruction, here's the picture, and then there's another one that I saw that had the kind of instructions, and it was one that you said that they were copying pictures that.
Oh, right. So you can use the template. You don't have to use the template as long as you can accomplish the same purpose. As long as the document, whatever you come up with, you can use PowerPoint. One student has made a video. If you want to make a video, you can use any of those, basically those three options if you like, as long as it accomplishes the goal of the assignment, which is to walk someone through how to do a task with text support and with visuals.
Okay,
So-
my question would be using the template.
Uh-huh.
The instruction, step one might be on the left, and then you have a picture on the right. Do we need to kind of space that out so that we can get both on there? I mean, not knowing how these examples will come up on our screen when we're snipping, we got to kind of fit it in there.
Oh, okay, I see. I'll show you what you can do to make it a little easier. Let me. I think I see what you're saying. So if you're going to use
Right.
this template, okay, yes. So what you can actually do is you can still use this template and just put your title up here, how to insert a whatever one, whichever one you pick, and then your actually you will delete this. These are just the instructions, but your introduction will go here. The thing, this is full disclosure, the thing with Word and tables is that to me, they're annoying. So I give this as a template for you to use, but you can also do this with outside of a table. So this
Okay.
is another option. So I'm just going to edit this. So basically what you could do, I'm going to show you exactly how to insert a watermark. So your title would be here. It's not necessary to put your name on it. It's, you know, your name is attached in Blackboard. You can cut this out. We're going to try to get this out of this table, basically.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to getting too big for my britches, going too fast. And also my computer is a little slow. So we can copy this and basically go to the next page and paste it. And now we can delete the table. So we will put the introduction here and scoot it up so it looks nice. And then what you can do is just type number 1 or even just 1. Instructions, put whatever text is here. And I want this all to be the same. I don't know why this is different. That's annoying to me. But put the directive here as in open the Word document that you would like to add. Wait. You would like to add a watermark. Okay. And you can space, and you see that it'll automatically put the 2. This is how I cheat with formatting and make it easier. I just type something like this and go back to the end and then space twice. And you see how now I can put a picture here, but the 2 is still there and I don't have to renumber anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of.
Can you do? Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it again. I'll show you again. I've used Word so often that I've learned like all the tricks to make it not be mean to me. So open the Word document to which you'd like to add a watermark. So I'm just going to take a Mac version of a snip. So let's just say this isn't right, but I'm just showing you. So now I have a picture. So I'm going to insert a picture from my files. It's going to be this one, I think. Okay. So you see how you can do it that way.
Okay.
And if you do it outside of the table, to me, it's a little less cumbersome. You can futz with the table stuff if you'd like. I just kind of gave it to you as a guide so you know exactly what goes on the document, but please don't feel obligated to use the table. And to do the next one, let me show you. So right next direction. And I'll show you again what I was doing up here with the spacing. So if you hit enter after you have written at the end of like a bulleted or numbered list, it automatically gives you the next number. But we don't want it right there because we want to put our picture, right? So if you go back to the end of the previous number and hit enter twice, it scoots your cursor back over, but it also retains the numbering. So you don't have to start it over and everything's still perfectly aligned and you didn't have to do any of it. It's amazing, very exciting to me. And then you just repeat the process. So you could insert your pictures. You would obviously insert the correct picture, but you know, we're just gonna repeat what we just did. Insert our picture. And if this happens, which might happen, so now you have your directions here, but you have your picture on the next page. What you can do to fix that easily is to put your cursor at the end of, on the right side of the last picture. And on a PC, I think it's going to be Control Enter. On a Mac, it's Command Return. It's the same thing, it's just different on the picture, but you're basically inserting what's called a page break. I'm not trying to bore you with the details of Word, but hopefully these kind of help you with formatting and make it faster because Word is annoying, in my opinion, with formatting.
Could you center that as well?
Yes.
Like the first one?
Yes, click it and then you center it.
Okay.
And again, what I'm looking for is consistency, like Ms. Billups asked about. If you want them all to the left, put them all to the left. If you want them all in the center, put them all to the center. I think that looks silly if it's on the right, but I wouldn't take off for it as long as it was consistent. So I am old school. I like it centered. So that's what I would do. And then you would go from there. And this is way easier than fooling around with the rows in the table. So you can definitely just do it this way as well. And I will save this and I'll post it on Blackboard. And you can use it as a template as well.
Did your table just go down or you deleted the table?
I deleted it.
Okay.
See, this is the end, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have some more helpful information.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to using a template, you go and snip your picture and you try to insert it inside of the template on the right-hand side. Snip is too big for the template. It will change the formatting of the template. So you actually have to go and resize the snip in order for it to properly fit in the position where you want it at, so it doesn't change the formatting.
Right, yes, ma'am, that's true, yes.
That's what I was doing at first and I had to figure it out.
Yeah, if you use it with the table, I think you can kind of resize the columns on the table as well. That might help. But this example that I just showed you is kind of a cheat because these pictures are all exactly the same. But when you start to actually do it, you may have a picture, for example, that is just of like this little area, or you may want to show this whole ribbon. So the pictures will be different sizes, like you're saying, Ms. Thomas, and you have to mess with them in order to get them to fit into the table.
Right.
Another thing you can do though in the table is, hold on one second, let me get back to where I was. Another thing you can do, nope. Let me just download another copy. Another thing you can do is, so for example, if this was 1 and then that was your direction, what you can do is left click and highlight these two. This is just another option. If you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to format the pictures and stuff, you can, again, left click and drag over these 2 columns and then hover in this blue area and right click and click merge. And then you can just stick a picture below. And then when you click tab, it'll automatically make another row that's similar to this with your step number here. And then you can write the directions and put the image. So that's another way that you can do it too.
And it'll keep the same formatting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Cool.
I hope that's helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you'd have to go in and pretty much match all the sizes of your image before you even start this process.
Yes, or you can resize them like Ms.
Right.
Thomas was telling us. And
Right.
honestly, because I know that it's kind of goofy to get things like super perfect, especially in Word, as long as the image is mostly clear and I can mostly tell what you meant and what you're trying to show, I don't take off points, because this class is not trying to teach you to be a designer, like a web designer or a brochure designer or whatever. And that's, I know I've worked in Word for longer than I care to admit, and I know it's awful. So I don't take off points, but if you want to make it look pretty and like as nice as what we see here on the web, and even on the web, you see that these images these are obvious, this is the exact same image, but you can see like it depends on what you're taking a snip of, what the size of the picture is going to be. So even on a professional blog, the pictures are of different sizes. So that's a workaround. I hope that's helpful.
Another problem I ran into was I found that the template was written in, I think, Calibri 11. And I was trying, I'm always trying to do everything in Times New Roman 12. So I was changing everything, and I got to make sure I'm consistent.
Oh, I know how to tell you to change it all at once. Are you familiar with styles?
Yes.
This up here. So right now, what you can do is, so let's say you wanted to change the body text to Times New Roman. You don't have to manually change all of this stuff. As long as all of it is labeled the same. So let me make this bigger. This is turning to a Word class, but I'm happy to tell you everything I know about Word and save you from headache, as I have experienced over my life of using Word. So what you can do, as long as the text is all labeled the same in the style, you can just change the style. But that's the catch. Like if this text here is, even if it looks exactly the same as this, if you click here and it's like labeled as body copy, it's not going to change it all. But as long as the text is all like kind of in the same family or style, what you can do is go up here to whatever style is labeled as, and of course you'll know because it's highlighted. And then you can right click, and it'll look a little different on a PC, but you should still have similar options. You can click modify, and you can change it here. So if you want it to be, right now is Cambria or something, you can change it to whatever. If you wanted it to be Apple Chancery, whatever that is, and you wanted it all to be 20, excuse me, you can change it here in this one spot. And oh, it's supposed to, wait, hold on. Did you change that first and then click? Oh, okay. So slightly do what I said backwards. So go to the style, change it, and then
Highlight it.
and then highlight it and click it. So if we highlight this and then click normal, which we've changed to this fancy stuff, and it'll do it all for you at once.
Okay. See, I'm not used to doing it that way. What I always do is I do a copy, like I highlight the whole document, and then I change the font and the wording, you know, and it does it like that. But then I just clear out of the copy.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely do it that way too. Yeah, that's a good way to do it as well.
But I'm glad you showed me that way too. So
yeah, sometimes I don't have a document. So sometimes styles come in handy if you have like a really long document. So I'll give you an example. I can't show it to you, but I'll give you an example. In the past, or I guess in my near future, when I write training manuals, and there are different types of text. So I may have a title, and then I may have like body text, like body copy, and then there's subheaders, and then there's this kind of bullet and this other kind of bullet. When you have different kinds of types of text in one document, the styles really come in handy, because like some of the training manuals that I've written might be 100 pages, 150 pages, and you can just easily, change the style. On this, you're right. I think it's probably easier just to boom, copy, go up here and change it and just get on with your day. But if you're ever using, if you're ever writing a really long document, then the styles can definitely come in handy and help.
I understand. Like I said, I'm glad you showed me that, because I wasn't that familiar with the styles. And like you said, if you write a long document, it's a quick way for you to stay consistent.
Yes, ma'am.
With everything, because sometimes it changes.
Yes.
Right. So that's good. Okay.
Cool. Any other questions? I'm here until you don't need me anymore.
I had one more question that just came up. For the document, okay, so I know some of us are using the watermark example, but document, can we use any document? Or is it okay if I use a sample document from Word? I know they have like those fake resume, like outlines and stuff. Can we use those, or? Sure,
you can use whatever you like. To me, it's humorous. I'm very easily amused, but I've even had students make a copy of the instructions template, or make a copy of like the assignment description and add a watermark to that. And they use that as the example. And to me, that's funny. I don't know why. But you can use a plain document. You can use, like you just said, there we go. You can use like one of the templates that Word provides. So like the take notes one, or the cover letter, or whatever you like. in full disclosure, I'm not going to really read whatever the text is on the, I mean, unless it's something super crazy, right? But if it's not, then I'm just looking to see that you have the directions and the words, the directives to go with it, the directives and the images. But it can be whatever. I've seen pictures of people's like dogs. They'll put like a picture of their dog on the background and add that as the watermark. So whatever you like.
One question I had, in some of your examples where they're cutting the dog's nails or they're doing tea or whatever, and with the example I'm using, there is nothing, no caution, for instance, because there's no hot water, there's nothing really serious gonna happen if you do anything wrong. So can we like not use the warnings? Is that okay?
I
mean, besides maybe losing your document.
Oh, right. Well, in that case, you may just at the end just remind the user to save their work.
Okay.
And I think that would count as a quote unquote warning.
Okay.
Well, okay, this at the end, it might be too late. I would think that you need to put that at the beginning, because if they go through the process and have already messed up, they may not read your instructions all the way through before they start. They might be going a step at a time.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, so I think
Unless
it
you
would
tell
be.
them to read the instructions all the way through before you start.
Yes.
Okay.
And even then they might not, because I'm very guilty of getting electronics and I just immediately throw away the directions and